Jesus makes us a promise. And maybe it's about a different kind of tiredness, but not necessarily. He tells us in Matthew 11, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in spirit, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And I hope that if you are tired, it is that good kind of tired. There is a good kind of tired, but you know you've worked hard and you've done well. And I think Jesus celebrates with us when we work hard and when we play hard. But we all also know those other kinds of weariness and tiredness and burdens that we carry. If you've ever lost a loved one, even if you've lost a pet, you know how much pain that causes, how it just bows you down in grief. And after weeks or months go by, you may think that finally things are kind of evening out and your grief may be lessening, and you see some picture or hear some song or even smell some smell, and it just all comes piling back on top of you. Grief can be a terrible, terrible weight. We sang a few minutes ago. When you don't know what else to say, just say Jesus. Jesus says, "Come to me, and I'll give you rest from that crushing burden." If you ever had a health problem, you know that even a kind of minor health problem can just make everything so much harder. About a year ago, my back went out, and it was giving me trouble, and for a day or two, I could hardly walk. And not a day has gone by since then that I haven't thought about my back. Now, I'm fine. I've got to do these exercises every day, but I am so much more aware of my back. It's a different burden I kind of carry, because if my back goes out again, I just can't do anything. And it's a burden, a worry, a weariness that I'm going to have to carry. And it's something that I've had to learn to say. Just say Jesus. Give it over to Jesus. He can promise rest. Even if my back goes out, even if you're having some horrible health problem, He can give you rest even through it. If you had a financial problem, you know what a tremendous weariness that causes. My goodness. My mama used to always say that money doesn't grow on trees. And it's one thing when you're a child, but when you have adult responsibilities and there's more money than there is money, and money doesn't grow on trees, and you don't know how you're going to pay those bills, it just bows you over with burden. If you've ever had a problem with a relationship, and all of us have, whether it's with your parents or your children or your friends or even maybe your animal, and things just aren't going right, oh, that is so awful. And one of the worst kind of burdens for me is when I know I have screwed up. I know I have messed up. I said the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing. I sent that flaming email I should have sent, and it's caused everything to be messed up. And I know it's all my fault, and I just feel so bad. How could I do that? Why would I do something that awful? Why would I betray somebody I love, or turn on somebody that I'm supposed to love or care about? Why would I do the wrong thing? And it is a burden. Jesus says, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." And I can take that burden from you, that burden of sin, that burden of grief, that burden of worry. I can take all of that from you. Now, I'm riding the edge here this morning, mostly as a stunt, let me confess. But last year, I don't know if you were here last year, but we did this as well. And we just thank you so much for being here. Thank you for letting us come out here. And ever since last year, everybody at Trailhead Church has been teasing me and saying, "They invite us back next year, you got to preach from horseback." This is the first time I've ever preached for a live audience on horseback. I did it once on film, the first time I ever preached live. And it really is kind of a stunt. But I also wanted you to get to see Edge and meet Edge, because he's got a part to this story, a part to this scripture passage that I just read. We bought Edge 8 or 9 years ago, and I wasn't into horses at all. This was something my wife who's sitting over here, my daughter who's right here, this was their thing. But what I discovered was that Lee and I, my wife and I, could do something together. We both got to do what we wanted to do, but did it together. I was big into mountain biking and still enjoy mountain biking. And she was working part-time in the school district here in Pendleton, and so on Fridays that I take off, I would go over to the farm where Ed was, and I'd load him up in the trailer, and I felt like such a cowboy. I mean, I went out there and I caught this horse, and I loaded him up. And then I'd drive to school, and leaving out of school, she hopped in the truck, and we drove the trailhead right back here behind the arena. And I'd ride a mountain bike, and she'd ride Edge. But one day I went out to catch Edge, and horses are smart. And horses know greenhorns when they see them. And Edge much as I thought I was a cowboy, he knew I was no cowboy. And that particular race, he was shaking his head. And as much as on that day, I wanted to catch him, he decided, man, I don't want to go today, and you can't catch him. And I tried to drive him to trees, and he found a way to come up and grab those trees out of my hand before I could get my hand around his neck and he'd take off. And so then I thought, well, I'll just try to run him down. That was a real while ago. And so I ran around that pasture. I didn't catch him. I thought about getting out the mountain bike and chasing him, kind of like you might do with a on horseback with a cow. But I couldn't do a road anyway, and I realized right quick that wasn't going to work. And the longer it took me to catch him, the madder I got. And finally I realized I wasn't going to catch him. He was not going to let me catch him. And so I took out my cell phone. I knew Lee kept it off at school, but she would get the message when she got out of school. And I called her and I said, I can't catch Edge. You want to come out here and do it because I can't do it. And I just then climbed up on the hood of the truck and I took my cap and put it over my head and I tried to take a nap. But I was so mad I couldn't do it. At one point I kind of lifted up the cap and looked to see what he was doing. And he was out about 50 yards away from me, rolling in the pasture, with all four legs up in the air, just like, you can't catch me. And I just slammed the cap back down over my head. And I did manage to fall asleep. And after a while I heard a little noise and I lifted up the cap. And here comes Lee. She's already caught Edge. I didn't hear her come in. And she's bringing him over to the trailer. And the reason they were living so quietly was he knew her. He trusted her. He respected her. He knew she wasn't green. He had confidence in her. And he knew that she could catch him whether he wanted to be caught or not. And so he just came to her. Jesus says, come to me. You can trust me. You can respect me. If you're carrying a heavy burden, if you're carrying a lot of weariness and tiredness, come to me. Choose wisely. Edge knew better than to choose me. He knew he could trust Lee. He knew he could respect Lee. And so he came to her. Now my course sport now is called riding time. And that is where you have two people and one horse. And over a course of 15 or 20 or even up to 50 miles, or even some of them 100 miles, you alternate running and riding. The horse rider rides out and ties the horse to a tree, the runner comes behind, unties the horse, and catches up with the runner, and you switch, and you back and forth over that whole course. And Sarah and I do riding time. Some people say that's the craziest sport you can imagine. Why would you get off a perfectly good horse and start running? But that's the way the sport works. And our main riding time horse is named Cruz. Now, Cruz is an Arabian. If you know anything about Arabian horses, they're pretty high-spirited. That's one of the reasons why Cruz isn't here today. He wouldn't be standing like this today. Another reason Cruz isn't here today is he has a kind of strange phobia. Cruz is terrified of cows. And so we thought that maybe today wasn't the best time for him to be out here at Garrison since he doesn't like cows. And so Cruz is still back in the pasture. But one of the amazing things about Cruz is he's a high-spirited Arabian. But he takes a bit better than any horse I know. I'm pretty green still at tacking up a horse and giving him a bit and all that kind of stuff. But all I have to do is lay my hand out and lift up that bit. And he opens his mouth and he takes that bit. And this is a big animal, a high-spirited animal, a powerful animal. And he knows when he opens that his mouth and takes his bit, he knows he's giving me control. And it's just moving to me every time that I watch this big, powerful animal submit and obey and take that bit. Jesus says, take my yoke upon you. And he says, submit to me, obey me. He says, learn from me that I'm gentle and humble. The rest I give you. The direction that I send you in is going to be a different direction than the world. Where the world says, go out and conquer. Take names and kick butt. Jesus says, I'm gentle and humble. I'm going to send you in a different direction. I'm asking you to take that bit. When a horse takes the bit, we then can control it. We decide what direction the horse goes. And Jesus says, I want you to take my bit, take my yoke, and let me lead you your direction. But that takes us opening our hearts to Jesus. It takes us doing just what Cruz does, lowering our heads, submitting in obedience. Jesus. Powerful. Of course, Jesus doesn't actually say, take my bit. He says, take my yoke. I mean, take my yoke. If you're like me, you first might think about one of those single yokes that we might put on a horse or a steer or an ox for it to go out being the farmer back behind on the plow and us being the plow animal plowing, take my yoke so that we can plow. But when Jesus said this here, his hearers would have heard something very different. They would have been thinking about a double yoke, where you hook up two oxen to the same yoke. There's an amazing thing about those double yokes. A two-yoke oxen, if they're yoked together, can pull 4 times as much as one ox can pull. Now you think they pull twice as much. You got one ox, you can pull so much, you get 2, you double it. But when you get 2 of them, you get 4 times the pulling power. And what Jesus is saying is, if you take my yoke upon you, it's a double yoke, and I'm going to be right beside you. And together we're going to pull through whatever it is that you have to pull through. We're going to plow right through it. Powerful thing, I think, that Jesus is saying there. In the 23rd Psalm, we read that, yea, though I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I won't be afraid, because you are with me. Jesus says, take my yoke upon you, and I will be with you, and we will pull through together. Of course, Jesus is the more powerful partner. Jesus pulls right there with us and pulls us through. We've been told, you probably heard maybe, that God doesn't always take us around trouble. But God is always right there with us all the way through trouble. And I love this image of Jesus next to us yoked with him, and us plowing right through. You might know that song. It's kind of a popular song. It's pretty inspirational. It says, if you find yourself in hell, just keep on walking, and maybe you'll get through, and the devil won't even notice. Well, even more powerful than that, because that won't always work. When we find ourselves in hell, when we find ourselves bowed down by grief, or by worry, or by health concerns, by financial concerns, by relationship problems, by sin, we find ourselves in hell. We may not have the strength to just keep on walking. We may be mired down so deep we have no hope. But if we do just what we said a little while ago, we cry out, just say Jesus. I don't know what else to say, but I'm going to just say Jesus. There's power in that name. And Jesus comes and he yokes up right next to us, and we take that yoke from him, and he'll pull us right through hell. He'll pull us through any hell we got faced on this earth. And he's already plowed that way. We don't even have to be yoked up to him to go right through hell that comes in the next life. We don't have to worry about that, because through his death and resurrection, he's already knocked down the gates of hell. He's already plowed that path through hell, and together we can walk right through with him, through the gates of hell, to the pearly gates, the heavenly gates. Take my yoke upon you. Come to me if you're weary and heavy laden, for I will give you rest. What is it right now that's causing you weariness? Some of it may be lack of sleep, some of it may be a long weekend, but there may be other stuff that's causing you weariness as well. Sin in your life, trouble you've got going on, grief, or relationship problems, or financial problems, or health problems, whatever. Let me ask you right now, just say Jesus. Let Jesus yoke you up so he can plow you through, take you right through whatever it is that you're facing. That's the promise he makes. His promises are always true. We're going to sing together one more time. Just say Jesus. I'm going to hop off the edge here, and please don't come to get him. I'm going to walk right over there. If you want to share with me anything you might need to share with me, maybe you want me to pray with you, I'll have a microphone turned off. Maybe the first time you want to just say Jesus, say I want to yoke up to Jesus, let him help me plow through life. Maybe you want to say, I want to rededicate my life instead of Jesus. Or I just got something I need to share with him, and I'd like to pray with you. Whatever you might have, whatever you might need, I would like you to just come on down, share that with me, and let's just say Jesus together. And not as we're all together singing, standing and singing, let us all make sure that we're